This looks like a job for Superman.
Welcome to Super Pals. I am Jared, and I'm here with Robert. What's up, man?
Yo, what up?
And today we are discussing the death of Superman and how it killed comics. Now, here's the thing.
You mean kill death, don't you mean?
Yeah, but we're going to talk about because the entire saga technically did. So we'll go into that, but we're going to talk about the entire saga, including the adaptations of it. Because you know what? Yeah. Let's talk about the...
Hold on, let me switch first. Let me switch.
Yeah, go ahead. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that and stuff. But, yeah, so what we're talking about right now is because this is one of those stories that's like one of Superman's like big stories, and it's like
for me though, I gotta say,
yeah, go ahead.
Remember, it's what helped get me into comics.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't be here
if
it wasn't for the funeral.
Yeah, exactly. But so then we get we're gonna talk about what's up, Tavia. So we're gonna talk about first the background of the story. So at this time, by the way, to keep it relevant, Panic in the Sky had just happened at this point.
Yep. To the point where people, because of how the trade play out, and back then they would actually tweak the trades a little bit, you know, to make sure it actually had an end point rather than the continuing on and everything. It came on your birthday, Tavia.
Birthday
year.
Cool. Dope. But yeah, no, here's the thing.
I was gonna say, no, but so you have some people who would think the pod that was launched out was Doomsday. It wasn't.
It wasn't. People think that was the first appearance of Doomsday. Nope. It wasn't.
But yeah, I just want to point that out because it's so funny.
So essentially, at this point, there were like 4 Superman titles, and they would all gather. All the writers and editorial staff would gather in like a hotel.
You got to plot these things out. You have to.
And again, I've said this many times. While I didn't like all the stories that were coming out this time period, the organization was fabulous. So
there's a reason why this event, Batman Nightfall, struggled.
Yeah, because there was clearly not this level of organization. So
yeah.
What happens is they were coming up with the story ideas. Now, Jerry Conway, I think it was Conway. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Conway.
Conway wasn't involved with the crew at that point. It was Mike Carlin. Jerry Ordway.
I knew it was a Jerry. So whenever they would be talking about stories, jokingly, he would say, and then Superman dies.
Because they were stuck. They're like, what can we call him? Superman dies. Ah, cute, Jerry.
Now,
cute.
Here's the thing. The original story they had planned, in other words,
wedding.
Yeah, was the wedding. Now
it was up. By the way, it was up in the air. Was it going to be 75 or Adventures 500? It was probably going to start at 75 and build up to Adventures 500.
Yeah. So what happened was at the time the Superman and Lois, the Lois and Clark show with Dean Cain was on, and they wanted to do the wedding first. So the Superman comic people were like, "What are we gonna do?"
Yep. Now, from what I understood, it wasn't a case of they forced them. It was that Carlin agreed with them on it.
Yeah. So
they were all in a bad mood.
Yeah,
they
were
like, all in a bad mood.
Nice. The other thing at the time is that you did have some sentiment that Superman was boring, or that he was like
sales were struggling. They would have. That's the reason why they did Panic in the Sky, so they can get some ad space.
Yeah. So eventually they were like, yeah, why don't we kill him? Let's see what happens when we kill Superman.
But I didn't love what Carlin said. Okay, wise guys, if we kill him, what happens next?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I like how information has come out that basically indicate that they knew that they were going to bring Superman back at the end. But there's no way they're going to keep Superman dead.
They just didn't know how. That's why they had a break between Adventures 500 and continuing on. They had a pause. They're just like, no. Now with Adventures 500 with Superman number 77, I believe. They had to pause things there.
Yeah, and again, by the way, I love that Mike Carlin statement where he goes, "Yeah, okay, now what?" Because it's the thing. Take Scott Snyder's statement. This is why the death of Superman is the perfect example of what Scott Snyder said. Because Scott said, "Okay, when you do an event, it has to be, and it has to be." And Hunter, we're not talking about that right now.
We'll
Again,
talk about that when we go over Painting in the Sky next week or whatever.
whenever you guys come in with questions, please pay attention to the title of the stream.
Please.
Anyway, so essentially what happened was you had where was I?
About they knew they were bringing him back.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So Scott Snyder always says whenever you're doing an event, you have to make sure that the way the DC universe looks at the end of the event is better than it was beforehand. So in other words, there has to be impact. Yeah, there you go, Robert. So and Scott and when Carlin said, "Okay, now what does this do? What's the effect of this?"
Mm-hmm. Now, by the way, I only got one autograph on me. That's Tom Grummett. That's it.
Of course.
Not Jurgens, because I didn't have much. I didn't have enough to get him to sign multiple things.
Yeah. So then that's why Doomsday was created, because they literally created it. Doomsday was created as a plot device to kill Superman.
They all were like, "Oh, it's a bunch of slugfests." Like, it can't just be a bunch of slugfests. And they're like, "Well, that's because that's not the real story." But of course, I will always love. You go from 4 panels for one issue.
It counts
to 3
down.
panels to 2 panels to nothing but splash pages.
And then Tevye as did it come out during the animated series or after?
Well before. The animated series wasn't even out yet, Tevye.
Yeah, exactly. So Superman dies. It all happens. It's a very emotional issue. It's very cool. And again, they do the panel countdown, which is so clever. I love that. And yeah, and my favorite thing is, again, this is my favorite statement I ever heard George Carlin said. He goes, people ask me, "I can't believe you're killing Superman." Then he goes, "When was the last time you read Superman?" And then he goes, "Oh, it's been like years." And I go, "I didn't kill him. You did."
Yep. And then?
Yep. And then we get the world without Superman.
Which I call this the unsung story, because when you have adaptations,
yeah, it's the funeral for a friend arc. It's
the best part. It's the best part. It's perfectly sized.
Yeah, and by the way, that's the okay. What happens next? Trade. That's the answer to Carlin.
Exactly, and like I said, this was the best. Now I will say, it's good for the first half. Second half, and then you realize they're running out of steam already.
Yeah, because here's the problem with it. It's great, but then it just goes on for way too long.
I would say a little too long. Once they did the whole, his body was stolen, then you're like, they're just spinning their wheels.
Yeah, exactly. So and that had some fun stuff where like the Justice League is answering like fan mail of Superman for them. Wonder Woman brings his parents back together and stuff. So basically they're being Superman. And I would have liked, now here's the important point to mention. The Justice League at this point, A, is dumb, and B, Superman was not a member of the Justice League.
Oh, he was. Yes, he was, but he was more of a he was
never a formal member of the league.
You're right. No, you're right.
He was more of the "I'll show up if you guys need me" type.
That's what it was, because Jurgens was working on it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why, and by the way, again, the Justice League was not the characters that could conceivably have stood against Doomsday. It wasn't Wonder Woman, wasn't Green Lantern, wasn't Flash. It was like Fire, Ice, Blood, Wind / Martian Manhunter.
And props, they tried.
They tried at least, but that's what's so tragic. But so you get that. Then what they decided to do.
Also, you have one of the best Lex Luthor moments. Can I read it quickly, dude?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Gotcha. So I win. I knew I'd bury you one day, you sanctimonious, self-righteous pain. I owned this town until you came along. There wasn't a man on earth who could stop me from doing whatever I pleased. And if anyone dared interfere, they were given a one-way ticket to hell. And you can't do a blasted thing about it. You're dead. You are nothing. Metropolis is mine again. And you are an empty, lifeless, withering Husk. Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, and Tevye says, wait, which league was this? This was JLI. And then Tevye.
Well, post JLI, but still JLI.
It was still essentially that lineup. And then Tevye says, yeah, and Supergirl was the Matrix Supergirl at this point.
Which explains why she gets punched, and anyone who reads it out like, what the heck happened?
Yeah, it's like it's not Kara. It's not Kara. We're still in we're still in the he is the only surviving Kryptonian thing.
I know, yeah. This moment, people were just like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
And then they're like, why does Lex have red hair?
Yeah, so then we get to the reign of the Supermen.
Yep, reign and return, which, okay, I get why they did it. Everyone had an idea, and I believe it was Louis Simon said, why don't we do all of them?
Yeah, all 4. So,
now, Jerry had left. Jerry was leaving with 500. Great farewell. Great send-off, if you ask me. Him being the one to save Superman's soul.
Yeah, exactly.
So Carl Kessel came in. He would do the kid.
The idea is that each of the 4 titles would be about one of the 4 Superman that people thought, oh, is one of these Clark come back to life? Except for Steel, who never represented himself as Superman.
And to be fair, the only 2 that were viable were Cyborg and Eradicator.
Yeah.
Superboy was up front. I'm a clone.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think they had retconned in yet that he was a clone of Clark and Lex.
Well, they didn't even make it clear what he was a clone of until after all this.
Mm-hmm.
Up at this point, we were like, huh? And then he had the telekinesis powers and all that, tactile telekinesis. That raised even further questions.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, which as of now, because of Wade's new history, Matrix has become the second Supergirl since the new canon Matrix came after Kara died in Crisis.
Well, that was always the case.
That was always the case. Yeah,
they just had it be now. She showed up as Matrix and did her thing after Kara died, as opposed to this was the first time it was ever a Supergirl.
Yeah, exactly. So then you get then what happens is each of these 4 Supermen.
Also, the funny thing about these 2 is Cyborg and Eradicator. They were actually established stealthily before everything.
Yeah, Eradicator was a character.
Last Man of Krypton.
You and I covered that on your channel, I think.
His introduction before he gained a body.
Now explain the story of Hank Henshaw.
It's a morbid take on the Fantastic Four, where these 4 people went up into space. Cosmic rays hit them, but they malformed. The Johnny and Ben versions of them died, and Hank Henshaw was the Reed Richards, but not as smart. Let's be honest, not as smart, but he did what he could to save his wife, but he died. But it turns out he had his other ability was to jump into machinery, which he did, and it caused his wife to jump out a window.
Yeah, exactly.
And then eventually he went into Superman's birthing matrix, formed a little machine, and took off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Anything that went wrong, went wrong.
Yeah, it's actually like realistically what would happen if what happened to the Fantastic Four happened to people.
But yeah, that was the last thing we saw with that little pod just taking off from the birthing matrix.
And then he was just known as Cyborg at the time, right? Or was that after this?
After this. No, he was just Henshaw.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Until between his start and here, he was just Henshaw.
And I will say, I liked how in the Dekamu Death to Superman, Reign of the Superman movie, he at least imitates Superman's voice.
And you weren't even dead yet. That was one of my favorite deliveries.
Yeah, I love that. And so
now here's the funny though. Of these 2, Cyborg was the one that even had readers fooled.
I'm sure he did.
Because Eradicator's like, no, too different.
Yeah, Eradicator is like, if you commit a crime, I'm gonna murder you.
Or break your hands.
Yeah, with the other one, it's like, yeah, maybe like his body was so broken that he had to be rebuilt with cyber stuff. It's happened before.
Mm-hmm. And technically there was, I'm saying this as a joke, there was a 5th Superman, Bibbo!
Yeah. So then
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah. So then we get Mongol, and it turns out Cyborg is a bad guy.
Yep, working was Mongol. Turned out making his way all the way there. He made his way all the way to Werewolf, took over, and basically made Mongol his. Can I say? I can't say it.
B word.
His B word.
Yeah, and then what happens is oh wow.
What?
According to at least Puck News, so take it with a massive grain of salt. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund has a bid to purchase Warner Brothers.
Tying back to Paramount.
No, just them.
Oh wow. I
That's-
don't think
interesting.
so. I
Yeah.
think they're content with Netflix.
Yeah, as far as the impact on the international scale, Death of Superman is the biggest death. It was in terms of comics because it's like CNN was even covering this. Oh, they're killing Superman. And I was like, what?
Oh no! Oh yeah, you didn't want to write him, and then fans said, "Yeah," and they're like, "Okay, I'll bring him back."
Yeah. So then what you get next is
So for the reign of the Superman portion, it was mostly establishing. That's right. Steel had the biggest slab of his backstory being given. Cyborg and Erratic and Last Son were more about just trying to convince people they're the real deal, and Superboy was just about building up his character in general.
yeah. So then what you get is essentially the erratic. So at Superman's fortress, two robots are seemingly like infusing a pod with
An egg, yeah,
egg,
regeneration
essentially.
egg, yeah.
with like energy from the Eradicator.
For the Eradicator, yeah. Because here's the thing. He tried to take over Superman's body. He couldn't. So he made a copy of it. We don't get that at first. They don't make that clear yet.
That's why he looks like Superman.
And that was the only thing that got people thinking he could be the real deal, because they say like, oh, he's taking over his body.
Yeah. So
that little fooled you.
So Mongol invades and blows up Coast City. Hello, Hal Jordan.
Oh boy, yeah.
You could say it became an Emerald Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened.
Oh,
So
this moment.
yeah, it's revealed what happened, and then essentially Superman, the real Superman, the egg is put in like a battle
Look at
suit.
that.
Yeah, it gets put into a battle suit, and the battle suit literally walks all
Now
the
you're
way
probably
to
wondering,
the top.
where are DC's heroes? Well, because Cyborg Superman was given prop, saying by the president, he's the real deal, and using what now we can call as advanced AI, tricked all the heroes to think, oh, the last son of Krypton went up into space. You should go after him.
Okay, so they all went.
They all followed him. They all believed him like chumps.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, it makes sense. The president has given the A-OK. Why should they doubt him?
And it's convinced he's Superman. So there you go on that.
Yep.
So then the battle suit shows up and then gives birth to black mulleted Superman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Long hair. It was never a mullet.
Oh yeah, long. It was just drawn to be a
By the
mullet.
way, look how huge Steel is. But
I
yeah,
also
get it.
love.
He's a basketball player size, but come on.
I love the in one of the next covers, you could tell the long hair was an afterthought because when Jurgens drew it, he had the short Superman hair with the black suit.
Yep.
So then,
over my dead body.
yeah, exactly. So so essentially, Steel gives Superman the boots.
Well, no. It was one of Lex's troops that gave the boots.
Okay. It gives him the jet boots, and Superman grabs a bunch of guns, and he goes, as in the Boy Scouts, always be prepared.
By the way, I love what finally convinces Lois. There are two things that convince Lois that it's really him. One, To Kill a Mockingbird, Clark's favorite movie, but then also, and a reminder to right before he went up to his desk, just remember, no matter what happens, I always love you. Always, that they reenact that kiss.
Mm-hmm.
I do like it. Yeah, poor Lois throughout both of these, especially here going to the ringer, where she keeps thinking, "Oh man, if it's true, then someone has to figure out who Clark is." And if it's false, if it's true, I've lost Clark all over again.
Yeah. So Superman, Steel, the Eradicator, and
Eradicator is still recuperating.
Okay, whatever.
But yeah, Superboy, yeah.
Show up and fight Cyborg Superman, who just like turns into like a Terminator machine like cannon thing, and looks like it's gonna blast Superman with kryptonite.
Oh, yep.
So what happens is now at the time, Superman does not. You don't have to keep showing the.
Sorry.
No, that's all good. So
I can't help it, dude. I can't. Like I said, I love this story.
no, it's all good. But so Superman, essentially doesn't have his powers at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Eradicator jumps in the way of the kryptonite blast, and essentially he acts like a sieve, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And Superman is repowered. And I love where he punches his fist through Cyborg Superman and then just vibrates him into like components.
And he doesn't care if he's dead.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me again why Superman doesn't kill.
Now, because even Hal says, "Oh, he's out there." Oh no, I do think Superman's convinced he's alive. He just didn't want to argue it.
They have to put in the story though.
Yep. Oh, I know, but you can definitely tell. Also, there's a look on Superman where he's like, "No, he's certain he's still out there."
Nope. That all has to do with interpretation. I interpret it. He kills.
Okay.
But
well,
yeah,
after everything that how powerful he is and everything.
Yeah, he's too big of a threat.
That's true.
So then you get so the day is saved essentially, and Superman's back, and we get a couple of stories, and then we get Doomsday's return, because what Cyborg had done is he wrapped Doomsday's body in an asteroid, but what he did is he put up a chip next to Doomsday so he would be able to rebuild himself.
Yep, he would leap over there and take over, and he ended up jumping into from Doomsday, because Doomsday would be the perfect vessel to hide on. He jumped into it, one of the Apocalyptian troopers, and he reformed that into the red suit.
Yeah, and so Doomsday shows up on a ship, and then the ship crashes on Apocalypse, and Darkseid contacts Superman, is going, "Can you take care of this? He's killing my people."
Actually, Doomsday and Darkseid gets his butt whooped now, to be fair. That's what's all of his versions remerged in the one.
So it's the weaker Darkseid.
But I do like how Williamson eventually then said this is the job that Doomsday was built for.
To fight Darkseid.
You know what? That actually can explain, even if you had full power, this would have happened.
Because here's the thing. So at the time we didn't get, previous to that, I don't think we ever got like a reason why Doomsday was created in universe.
Nope. In fact, the whole tiny end of, having this stuff with Darkseid, Jurgen admitted that was because that was one of the series fans tossed.
Yeah, and I'm like, that makes a ton of sense. And I'm like, okay, that's again one of those like Williamson things where I'm like, okay, that's a retcon, but it's like it's a retcon that I will allow because it works so well with Superman.
Yep, and eventually Jurgens would then explain it as Superman and all this cloning tech is this was like one of the earliest days of Krypton, before the Clone Wars.
Begun the Clone War has.
But this was before it, but this is where Krypton got the cloning tech from. That tells you how ancient this is. This is well before what was already ancient Krypton.
So explain to the audience Doomsday's story.
Doomsday was an experiment caused by one alien who was interacting with the early ancient Kryptonians, Bertram, and basically the whole notion was he wanted to create the perfect life form. And we succeeded. Sorry, had to reference Mewtwo. But yeah, basically the whole notion was to create a baby, send it out, it dies, but then they would pick up the genetics and just keep recloning that from the remains each time. It basically forced evolution.
Essentially, when Doomsday would return, he would be immune to whatever killed him the previous time.
Well, he eventually got to that point. But I'm just saying, before he got to that point, before his body was able to kick in for that, that's what they do. They basically guided the evolution to make it the perfect predator, and eventually wiped out all hostile life on Krypton.
Yep, exactly.
Beforehand, it was one of the most dangerous planets.
Mm-hmm.
But then after Doomsday, there was nothing.
They did a similar idea in the Krypton show where it was just a Kryptonian guy that was like engineered to be a super soldier.
I prefer this. And also
I prefer this, but
I love how Bertram is an idiot. Like everything, he's an idiot. He didn't put anything to control the thing. He was so focused on the end result that it's like, how do we shut? Oh crap, we don't know how to shut him down.
Yeah, he earned his death. Let me put it to you that way.
They all did.
And then after that you get
he leaps around to different planets, including one where he killed off Darkseid's best friend.
And wasn't there also a storyline after the Superman comes back where it's like the rematch where Superman has the headsaw costume?
That was the same one we were just talking about.
Oh, okay, cool.
Where he went to Darkseid and everything. Superman went there. Mother Box gave him that outfit.
And then where did Doomsday end up?
Oh, they sent him to the end of time.
Yeah.
But what happened afterwards? 0 hour. And what happened 0 hour? They restarted the history, which allowed Brainiac a chance to go there and pluck Doomsday out right before the big crunch.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how Doomsday returned. And then, so again, where do you stand on intelligent Doomsday?
That's your end result. And I have to agree with what Loeb did. It's a detriment to Doomsday.
And here's the thing. I'm fine with, there was that one storyline where Brainiac was piloting Doomsday. I'm fine with that because, that could happen. I could see that happening.
Doomsday has to earn it. He has to evolve to it. And then I can accept him evolving it away.
Like Time Trapper, I can kind of buy.
Yeah, but do you agree with what I just said? He can evolve to be intelligent, but then eventually evolve to get rid of it.
Because I'm sorry. And that was one of the things I will never excuse in the DCAU. He shows up instantly intelligent, and then what makes him stupid is Lord Superman lobotomizing him with heat vision.
Actually, to be fair, Elementa, they didn't team up really. The most that was there was Darkseid who took down Cyborg.
Yeah, he's like, you handle this. You go over here. I'll go over here, and
we'll go like here, Darkseid, you heal. I'll heal Doomsday.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, now let's go to the different adaptations of Death as Superman, because we've had a couple. First, we have Superman Doomsday, which is the weirdest one I've ever seen.
Now, here's the reason, though. This was right in the middle of the Superboy lawsuit.
Okay.
They didn't have Superboy at all. And I bet you that was a big detriment. That's why and they only had one movie. They weren't given a trilogy or anything like that.
Or duology in the case of the DeCamera.
Yeah, so they had to shove it all into one. So they decided to be, let's go thematically, like what, basically it was like, we're going to keep it self-contained, no greater DC universe, but what would we have done if we adapted the Death?
Which, it was cool to a degree. They still got the fight, right? But it's like, and they still did the cloning thing, which was actually really interesting, but it's like, the other parts of it, I was like, okay.
Like the evil Superman is more like peak up at the best, perfect Bizarro.
Or it's, I also didn't like when Lex Luthor arguably essayed the clone.
Yep. By the way, Tevye, this was during when the Siegel and Schuster estates were trying to make their biggest bid to try and take over. For a brief time, they were given control of Superboy because technically they did create Superboy first. That was their original idea. Then it was eventually then made clear both sides sold their shares, and thus they had no contest.
Yeah, exactly.
But they said that, but that's when we also got the special arrangement because that was their agreement.
Yeah. So then we got the and then also Lex kills Mercy. Yeah, that was stupid.
They were trying. If you look at the content, they were just trying to be. Well, as they said, when they look at no matter how dark this was no more darker than an episode of the Justice League. So they decided we need someone to make it a little edgier.
Yeah. So then, skip like a decade or so, you get the Death of Superman anime movie, which is more aligned with the comics, except they had some major problems because they were trying to undo the new 52 parts and force in Lois off screen. This is part of where my hatred of the character started. I get it as it's not.
I don't blame Tomasi for that. He could have done it better, but it wasn't his idea.
It was actually Tucker's idea for that, which makes a lot of sense.
James Tucker, yeah.
It makes a lot of sense when you hear like even past interviews of the DCAU and hear him talk about the relationship, but they did it off screen, which is annoying to me. Besides that,
they shoved it in like you're true and everything.
Well, it's not only that, because that was in Reign of the Supermen. The other thing about it is like, so the Justice League is the group that could kick that. It wouldn't body Doomsday, but would stand a bigger chance. But and I get that they were like stuck into doing Death of Superman, but I'm like, this isn't the same.
That's why they had to explain saying that this version of Doomsday was actually created by Darkseid and given all this tactical knowledge.
I don't think they explained the tactical knowledge.
Yes, they did. That's what Cyborg Superman revealed, that he was actually given all this information.
That's Cyborg Superman, not Doomsday.
No. He said Doomsday was given that knowledge by Darkseid when he was sent there.
Where was that? I just watched the Reign of the Superman movie.
I just remember that at some point it was mentioned, or I think it was a case where you have to look at all, like when you see stuff from Doomsday's point of view,
They never showed that. No, that never showed up. What I remember is all Darkseid said was, "My Doomsday weapon actually killed Superman."
I gotta double check then.
Yeah, but anyway, so at least with this, they split the two main parts into two movies.
And they added a lot of elements from World Without, including Bibbo's prayer to God.
Yeah, so then
you
get to Reign.
That was near and dear to me.
I liked how in Reign they actually captured the fact that like each of these four people were wondering, is he Superman? Is he Superman? Is he Superman?
Oh, and I also love, and they did a little nod by having Lex, when he was sneaking out, he's dressed with a red wig and a red beard.
And he's played by Dwight Schrute.
Schrute or Schultz?
Schrute. Rainn Wilson. Dwight from The Office.
Right. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'll be honest, not my favorite Lex.
He kind of has the more a-hole version of Lex, which I kind of liked.
True, but I don't know. It just always felt off compared to others.
Superboy was cool. I didn't like the whole, when he's talking to Lois, he goes, I don't know what it is, but there's something in me that tells me I could trust you. I'm like, that doesn't pass with genetics.
Yeah, I agree, but to be fair, that's always been a questionable fictional thing. Remember, Tomasi did not do Reign. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, still, the breakup off screen was really dumb because he still had Lois say what we had was special, but you belong with Lois. Then they stuck it even here because, according to James Tucker, the idea of the diner scene with Wonder Woman was to tell fans, no, you should want him with Lois. And I'm like, you don't get to tell the audience what they should or shouldn't want.
I cannot agree to that. It's just like, you guys were following one way. You cannot just railroad it.
Yeah, and I get it. Let me put it this way. I would have been a little bit more understanding. I would have still hated it, but I would have been a little more understanding if we got a movie that showed the breakup.
Not have it off screen, yeah.
Not have it off screen, because I'm sorry, that was actually a major point in a lot of the previous movies. And here's the other thing. I think it was Atchison at some point put in my comments once, a very wise point. Where the DC AMU fell apart is when they started to force in the post-crisis storylines to a new 52 world where it doesn't work.
Exactly. By the way, the writer was Tim Sheridan and Jim Krieg.
Yeah, when I talked to Sam Liu about it, one of the things that he said, because Britt had brought up, why didn't you guys do Superman Doomed? And he goes, because at the time they hadn't read the modern storylines. And I'm like, that's why recycling, for lack of a better term, recycling creative personnel throughout the times, while that's important, and yes, you can have some people advising it, you should have some newer people that have read the newer comics in there.
Oh, I agree.
Because if they had done Doomed, that would have worked perfectly.
But here's the thing, though. A lot of those are even much younger and more inexperienced.
That is very true. I get that.
Yeah, that is the difficult part. Is a lot of the people who are experienced, who worked their way up, we should be lucky they were fans of the 90s stuff and not just the old pre-crisis stuff.
Okay, in that case, they should read the newer comics or at least be familiar with what they did. Hey, how did the already existing universe do the Doomsday storyline?
Well, here's the thing, though. By this logic, I remember that Sam Raimi. Look at most of Sam Raimi. He was always a fan of the Ditko Lee era. Not much afterwards, and it shows painfully in 3.
And Tevia, no, Tim Sheridan's comic book writing. Tim Sheridan's one of those occasions where he has.
This is before he went into comics.
A, that, and B, he just because he had some stories that fans didn't like doesn't mean everything of his stuff was trash.
And he did a lot of good TV.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta double check. What has he done in TV? Hold on.
Yeah, but anyway, so you get that. They do the Four Superman really well. I love the Eradicator thing where it's like one of my favorite Eradicator scenes is after Superman jams the crystal into Cyborg's head. Hank's like, "What is this?" And Eradicator just goes, "Eradication."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yes." Oh, and I love my favorite part of this movie, dude, was when they gave Superman his powers back. The sun is on him, and then all you see is the eyes open up and it's heat vision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, that was dope.
Okay, so he's worked on a lot of stuff actually. Teen Titans Go, Scooby Doo, Curse of the 13 Ghosts, Batman Long Halloween, Justice League Action.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. So that was that. So that was the death of Superman, the death of Return of Superman. Then also you can also count Batman versus Superman, which the problem with that one is that when you combine DKR with that, it does kind of like conflict and like conflate the movie.
Oh, and Adrian, that is true, but he didn't really die.
Yeah, he did. Definitely did.
Yeah, technically the closest fight he's ever had to a death was during the other.
Yeah, exactly. Over my dead body line felt lame.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was off screen, like over my dead body. It's like, no.
I will say, I love where Lex first sees Superman, and then Superman goes, "Lex Luthor, as I live and breathe." That was well done. But by the way, both the Death and Reign I did see as they did do that as well, which I felt was a great idea.
And here's the other problem with the Death and Return. It's a DC AMU movie first.
Yeah, and it's again, you're forcing it into a universe that's heavily based around an era of comics where that didn't happen.
Not that though, but also it's the same thing that happened with Batman Hush. It being part of that universe trumped everything.
That's what Ernie said to us when we interviewed him.
Yeah, same with Judas Contract. Same thing. The DCMU trumped adapting the story. And you also have people like Ernie saying they wanted to make it different, which I'm like, I get it, but
you're still adapting a comic book storyline. The other excuse, we're beholden to how the universe is set up. That I'm totally fine.
I love the beat 'em up game.
Oh yeah, there was a game for that. Yeah, exactly. but yeah, it's like if you're stuck with the way the universe is set up because of the continuity of movies, that's one thing. I understand that.
That's why Long Halloween actually had an advantage of being the first Batman of the Tomorrowverse. Yeah, it didn't have any backlog.
And Batman was not even in the Justice League at that point in the storyline.
Exactly. So yeah, you could tell it and not have to worry and treat it like a full adaptation because you don't have any back history.
Also, they split into two parts. By Elementa says, being a fan of 70s Bronze Age Superman was great. I see Janet Clyburn as the head science of Star Labs in the Death of Superman. Yeah, and I liked where Lex goes to Superboy. I gave you every advantage Superman had and more. You had the Luthor intelligence.
By the way, basically they went with the Connor Kent, mixed him in with minus the squeakiness, of course, of the Lex Supergirl relationship as far as using.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I really liked, I like the look of the DC AMU Wonder Woman, but with the long hair instead of it in that ponytail. The ponytail was fine, but it's like it was nice for a little change.
I have to agree that with what you said. Lois is not important to the death. The funeral, yes.
Funeral even Rain. I could buy Rain, but when Sam told me that the reason why they pushed Lois so hard in Death is because, according to Tucker, she played such a big role in the death.
No,
I'm like, no, sorry, I have the trade. She's the only part where she was central is the holding his dead body.
Yep, and saving her from the chopper.
Because here's the other thing, I said, okay, if you want to do Death of Superman, it would have been interesting if they did it, but with the Wonder Woman relationship.
Yeah. By the way, Tevye, they would never do Matrix. Matrix is too convoluted.
That is way too complicated to do. Because remember, they only have 90
that would take a whole movie to fit her in.
And they're not going to do a Matrix Supergirl movie in the DC AMU.
They're never going to. I hate to say it's Major Supergirl. She's going to be a comic only thing.
Yeah, because that requires too much setup in order to do.
Exactly. People need to understand that.
But it's like if you notice, Death and Return of Superman is the dividing line when DeCamu went off the rails.
I would say that. Oh yeah, the audio drama was. Dude, you have to look up that audio drama.
I'll check it out, definitely.
It is so good. It was the BBC version.
Oh, okay. That definitely sounds cool. But yeah, that's the dividing line. Because before that, you had let's say you had Justice League War, Throne of Atlantis, Justice League versus Teen Titans, all that Batman content. Yet, but it's like after this, it's like they're all trying to force in. It seems like they were like, because I think WB said that they wanted them to do like Hush and Death of Superman in the universe. I get that, but at least trying. This is the one time where I'm like, don't go pure the storyline, change it for the universe. Because
basically, you only had 3 movies after this. You had Hush, Bloodlines, and Apocalypse War.
No, you. Yeah. So you had what?
I'm saying in the AMU.
No, you had Judas Contract, right?
No, I know. That was before.
Okay. That was before Death.
Here's the order. Flashpoint Paradox, War, Son of Batman, Throne of Atlantis versus Batman versus Robin, Bad Blood versus Justice League versus Teen Titans, Justice League Dark, Judas Contract, Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay, then Death, Reign, Hush, Bloodlines, Apocalypse War.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah, we said Suicide Squad, Blood to Pay, Tavia. We said that.
I was just listening through. He probably didn't hear that part. I just went right through that.
But it's like, yeah, at that point, it's like that's when they start, and that's when, if you notice, yeah, the last movies after that are the ones that people say are the worst ones.
Yep. And well, even Apocalypse War, people are like, well, it's both awesome and yet cringy.
There are parts of Apocalypse War that are freaking badass, like when Superman gets repowered and kicks Darkseid's ass.
And I would say Darkseid versus Trigon. You never thought about that.
But Wonder Woman being turned into a cyborg fury, I'm like, what?
Yeah, by the way,
that was a little too edgy.
I just double check. Turns out Tim Sheridan also wrote Man of Tomorrow.
See, he's done some good stuff because I love that movie.
Yep, and he did The Long Halloween.
Again, also love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so essentially the death of, now let's talk about if it really did kill Death, because here's the thing about it. People talk about he died and came back. Here's the problem, because everyone always looks at Uncle Ben, Jason Todd, and like Gwen Stacy. Here's the difference. Here's why you can't use those examples. Superman was the headlining character.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Spider-Man died in those stories.
Exactly. And you were never going to do that at all.
But it's like that. But it's like then you. So it's like that's the difference.
And even when it came to the Legion, you have a huge cast of Legion characters. You can kill off a few.
Yeah, but it's like It's like when Wonder Woman died in the John Byrne run. You know she was going to come back.
It might be at the end of his run, but you knew she was coming back.
Yeah, you know that they were never going to and by Elementa, that was just because, so they had planned for a bunch of other movies, but since they didn't know what Gunn was doing, they figured
let's end the gun.
Let's end it on our terms rather than having it chopped off from under us.
And by the time they pulled the trigger, they then realized, oh, we had nothing to worry about.
Yeah, so it's it's one of those things there. And then Pikachu says Man of Tomorrow has one standing outflaw when
I will agree with that.
It feels too slow and too long. Yep, I'll give you that. It does feel a little long. It takes him too long to get to the Supermaning.
Exactly, but still though. But yeah, did it? And but to be fair though, you know what I would put more blame on? I would say it wasn't the first. But it was the first public where the general public learned about it. The first, I would say, was Phoenix.
Yeah, that was, exactly. The reason why DOS is attributed as the one that killed Death in comics was because that's when the public really realized, oh yeah, they die and come back to life all the time.
It's like how Batman people give all the props of Dark and Gray Batman to DKR when we're like, no, it was the 70s. It was just not DKR is where the public found out.
And the mainstream did.
The mainstream finally caught up.
Yeah, it's like how like people say Halo invented having 2 guns and like regenerating health. Well, that's not exactly true, but it's like that's the one that made it mainstream.
Now I would say this though. No one expected Superman to blow up the way it did because it was a slow news day.
Yeah, exactly. They could not have like what's the word, like anticipated that.
Yeah, and the fact that you have so many idiots who are like, I got a bunch of versions. I'm gonna put it away in a bank vault, and I'll be able to pay my kids' college tuition. I'm like, good luck with that. You got the regular issues in that bag.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, here's the thing: in the bag, that's like it can be dust if you ever open it.
Yeah, because unfortunately, those plastic wraps are eating away your books.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Marvel was just flailing.
Kind of what they're doing right now, but
now I want to say this: what it doesn't Superman do and Nightfall both do, it basically got people saying, "Give me one of those."
Yeah, and this is when you started to have like Mark Millar jokingly come up with the R word of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, but again, I don't blame him.
I blame DC for actually having a page drawn up.
Yep, but that also led to the Artemis that led up to we're coming up with Green Lantern 50. What do you have in mind? Wait, what is this? No, we want something that's close to the death of return. You're fired, Gerard Jones. You're fired, and you're a POS.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, he is now.
Yeah, exactly.
And they didn't know that at the time. But I'm saying that retroactively. Like, hey, Ron Mars, what do you got? Oh, that's better.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, the Clone Saga was done in response to it.
Oh yeah, because of Superboy.
Because no, not because of Superboy. I'm saying just because they wanted something akin to Superman. The death and return of Superman.
Even DOS is like one omnibus.
I know, right?
The minute one storyline exceeds 2, maybe you gotta think about it.
Now keep this in mind. Nightfall came out parallel. It was a coincidence.
It's just here's the thing. Again, what we said at the beginning of the stream, thing about Nightfall is that Nightfall was significantly less organized.
It was organized at first, but by the time you wrapped up to Asbad coming out and they went into Night Quest is when it went off the rails.
Yeah, because I have the all 3 of those giant trades.
I gotta get those omnibuses. I gotta get those omnibuses.
And you could tell when you get to 2, to this second one, Knight's Quest, I think is number 2. That's when it really starts to get all. I'm like,
and then Night End got back on track because they had to rush it.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that like they were like, quick, get Bruce back
because of 0 Hour. They had to.
Yeah, so I'm like, what? You guys just went way too long.
But that's why I'm hoping Adams improves that portion.
Yeah, and then Tavia says, so why was Nightfall chaos? I thought everything was under control.
No, because here's the thing. That was the first time you had, by this point, up until Nightfall, all of the Bat books, unlike the Superman books, were all individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Every Bat book was its own thing, telling its own stories. That was the first time where they decided to do what the Superman office was doing, each book leads into it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, but that was just up until Asbat. Once Bane was defeated, that's then when it went to back to individual issues, and it suffered for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what I think the advantage that Adams has is that it's a trilogy.
Yep, and he can rework stuff. It's going to be very faithful, but he can still rework stuff, make it better. He
can shorten it and say not all of this is like important and stuff.
I wouldn't and Tabby, I wouldn't say with one case where one hand didn't know what the other one was doing. It was more of a case, I think, of egos.
Egos, yeah, exactly.
They prefer to tell their own story.
Yeah, exactly. How often have we seen writers or like editorial groups that are supposed to be part of something or like supposed to be coordinating, but because it interferes with the story that they want to tell, they don't do it?
And Cameron, yes, this is where Steele and Khan were introduced.
I think I have the first appearance of Steele as an issue.
And I got the trade. He had his own ongoing.
Which, by the way, how great was that Michael 'n' Orr Steele works on?
Oh, that was good. But dude, you should check out. He had his own ongoing. Which, by the way, how great was that Michael Dorn Steele works on? You should check out. He had his own ongoing. Oh, that was good. But dude, you should check out. He had his own ongoing. the Louis Simonson and written Steel Run.
I do need to. Yeah. So essentially, so that's where you get like the Death and Return of Superman, and it's
one of the quintessential books. It's a must read.
It's
not
one
a
of
first
the
read. Not a first read.
Yeah, it's one of the first trade is Cameron.
Oh no, but all three trades are only by one creator, and that's Tom Grummett.
Yeah. So here's the thing. This I do love how this has become the storyline that inevitably will be adapted in some form, whether or not he dies or not. Superman will fight Doomsday at one point in the DCAU, DeCamo, movies, everything.
By the way, I gotta say, between Doomsday and Bane, I still say Bane's the better character, but Doomsday is the more imposing figure.
Well, here's the thing: with Doomsday, you needed someone that could actually punch Superman to death.
Yep, but I do think, though, Jurgens make it be where he's always evolving and getting stronger was a brilliant idea.
Because that way you can continually change him. It's not like he's stuck in one, direction, if you will.
That also explains why, even without Brainiac in the driver's seat, you could believe he could take on the main Morrison Justice League because he already survived Superman twice and almost getting killed in the time stream.
Yeah, so it's like that's the only way that makes sense. But it's like when he fought the Morrison Justice League, wasn't that when he was controlled by Brainiac?
Yeah.
That's the other reason why I'm like, yeah, he had Brainiac in the pilot seat.
Rumors of my stupidity were greatly exaggerated.
I still say regular Doomsday, if he fought all of the actual Morrison League at the same time, he'd give them a fight, but it wouldn't result in the league losing.
I would say if it was during the deaths, you'd be right. After the deaths is a whole other story.
I disagree.
Well, it depends. Okay, let me put it this way. You know, at one point where he could handle all the Justice League after New Krypton, when you had all the Kandorians beat him to death.
You could
make when you have an army of Kryptonians beating Doomsday to death, just imagine how much more powerful he'll be coming back from that.
I'll give you that.
Those were the arguments that even Death Battle made during their Hulk versus Doomsday fight.
Hulk versus Doomsday. Yeah, Doomsday.
Remember, this was pre-Immortal Hulk.
Yeah. Immortal
Hulk. Nope, it's going to be Hulk.
Immortal Hulk, yeah, exactly. I could see that.
It wouldn't be that. I think they'd be fighting forever.
Yeah.
I think there'll be no stopping them.
Pika says if Doomsday will appear in the DCMU, James Gunn.
Wait, what? What is that? Could you say what that means, Tevya? Tevya, Pika?
Who's
he's referencing someone from his neck of the woods, I think.
Oh, okay. Speaking of Doomsday, some people believe he should have stayed as the one-off. And some people are stupid because that's actually it's one of those characters that when he shows up, luckily what DC has done, they have
there have been sometimes when they overuse him. There have been sometimes when they overused him.
Yeah, but they've done it in a way where it's like when he shows up at the very least, you know that stuff's about to go down.
Yep, and I'll say this: we have Jurgens the Safe, but not just creating him, but expanding on him twice.
Yeah, and you needed that expansion. Now, again, is there occasions when DC overdoes things like with the Batman Who Laughs and stuff? Yeah, but I'm fine with it.
Yep, and I want to say this. And here's the other thing. You know how Jurgens? If you remember how Jurgens had Superman beat Doomsday the third time?
No.
He knew he couldn't beat him. So what did he do? He put him in 4 Justice League teleporters, all at 25%. Retention. So he was basically split across 4 different tubes, never, reforming.
That's cool.
It took Imperiax for them to have to release him. And even then, he got vaporized by Imperiax.
And then I guess he comes back immune to vaporization.
Oh, no. That's when he came back with his intelligence under Loeb's story. And then they gave him up the dark side. And then that led to Superman, Batman, the Supergirl arc with those Doomsday copies.
Oh, yeah. So that's how he was able to clone Darkseid.
Because Lex gave it to him after Our World's at War. No, after that story with them. And then you had Chuck Austin that was a dumb thing. They said, oh, Darkseid gave him the intelligence. No, he already had the intelligence before Darkseid gave him.
What do you think of the DCAMU change that Darkseid created Doomsday.
Not a fan.
Me neither. I don't like that. I prefer it's just some random creature.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Or the Kryptonian backstory.
Oh, and also, yeah, he talks in the Lego game, which I get, but it's like, I don't like that at all.
And Pika, that's a bit of a stretch. Yes, he might have used finished music, but I think that's a bit of a stretch. I know it's your neck of the woods, but...
It's stuff that, like, I don't think the general audience would really get, though.
Yeah, like I said, I know that's your neck of the woods, Pika, but... Not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but again, overall, if I had to rank this in my overall, top 10, it's up there. The whole trilogy is in the top 5.
You got to take it as one storyline, the whole trilogy.
Yeah, I put this in the top 5 still. For quintessential must-read Superman. Again, I repeat, not first read.
Mine, I place it at 10.
At 10?
At 10,
All
because
right.
it's not my favorite Superman story, because I think it has given people the wrong idea about how Superman's only has good powers when he dies.
Oh boy, the fact that led to one of the Batman's best zingers.
Yeah, that was
The last time you've ever inspired anyone was when you were dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And the saddest thing is, he wasn't that far off.
Yeah, he wasn't wrong.
But like I said, but regardless, top 5, top 10, it's regardless. It is a quintessential must-read if you're a Superman fan.
Yeah, I would say so. It is. I would.
Now, of course,
say that.
you might be lost. You might be utterly lost.
Read other Superman stories first.
Yeah, especially post-crisis.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, you'll be completely like, wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what?
How is he dead? What happened with that?
Now, again, the Darkseid creative worked for the DCMU because they were making Darkseid the main villain, overarching villain.
Yeah, exactly. So
I could accept that.
Yeah, so I'll give it that. But I think that is a good place to leave it. This was a good episode there.
Mm-hmm.
So, Robert, where can we find you and what we got coming on your channel?
A bunch of videos in the can I have already, and I'm working on getting to get some others recorded. Other than that, not much.
As for me, Athena has been funded, everyone. We are funded.
Yay!
And in terms of Wonder Woman Wednesday, I'm going to be talking about the DCAMU Wonder Woman. So there you go.
But I actually have to agree with Tebby on this one. It actually was one of the biggest boosted shots in the arm Superman needed.
And then the sales went back down.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, though, but it's still one of the most recognized stories to this day. You really need Superman needed that.
Recognized.
Well,
anyway.
yeah.
And then in terms of Under Two Capes, we're going to be talking about the Dark Knights of Steel storyline by Tom Taylor, otherwise known as Game of Thrones DC. And let's see what else. Obviously, CLD is going to be where we're going to talk about like Maximon stuff on in the Man of Tomorrow movie. Britt and I are going to be comparing Silver Surfer and Shia LaBeouf to Superman and Wonder Woman, and obviously the love interest from the Silver Surfer book. And yeah, we will see you guys next time. Stay heroic. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane, and be super. See you guys later.
Everyone.